Bless you, my child. Hi guys, Opie Dave here. Together we are Opie Dave and I am Ash.
And Mr. Sneezy.
Just had a sneezing fit.
Literally. Did you know, like, my friend Jenny... Bless you. She can't sneeze once. She sneezes several times in a row. So she goes like that. Literally like, you know, that cat we see on reels all the time. And so I've learnt now, I wait until the end and then I go, bless you.
Fun fact, I can very rarely cough without hiccuping as well.
Really?
It's nearly made me puke a few times when I've eaten too much and then something goes down the wrong pipe and then I cough. Then, yeah, it's bad.
Oh, babe.
Anyway, right. I am absolutely suffering with hay fever today, but also we did loads of work on the house yesterday.
Yes.
And there's been dust everywhere. And
everywhere.
I think that might be part of it as well.
Like, so. I sanded the front door and I've been repainting it. Dave drilled through brick and breeze block and has been rewiring and all sorts.
Because I'm a trainee spark, you know.
Ooh.
So there you go.
I know.
Right then, 5 reasons you shouldn't mess with the USA.
Ooh, okay.
This is a few years old now. I obviously watched it over at the Office Blokes, as people will know. But it still stands. It's basically a military-based video.
Okay.
And obviously the US have got the biggest military spend per GDP or whatever out of any country in the world.
Okay.
Biggest army in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, they actually fund theirs. Rather than with our election coming up, it's an interesting point that our army has just shrunk.
I know, which
in the last 12 years.
It's ridiculous. They decided that they would make it more territorial and less, obviously, existing permanent members of the military, which is just ridiculous.
You want not to take anything away from the territorial army, which is like our army reserves.
Yes.
But you're not necessarily winning wars just based off weekend warriors alone.
No.
You need full-time
I agree. I absolutely agree. But there's nothing wrong with the TA. Obviously, it's been a huge support to the military.
100%.
It's just we need permanent military. Really.
I think the TA were some of the first people out to, I want to say, Afghanistan.
I can't remember, but I know that they were the first in the Ebola outbreak. So...
Yeah, but we've got, I think, 80,000 active service personnel now, which is, for a country of 67 million people, is
not enough.
Unbelievable. It's shocking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get into it. So 5 reasons you shouldn't mess with the USA.
Yes.
You ready for it?
Yes.
Let's do it.
The collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s left the United States as the sole superpower in the world, and it's never looked back. In all aspects of the world, the United States is indeed a superpower, especially when it comes to its military might, which is unsurpassable in its strength, technological superiority, operational capabilities, and power projection across the globe. In this video, we'll take a look at the 5 top reasons why you wouldn't want to go against the US military establishment. The United States Air Force is the strongest in the world, not only in the number of operational aircraft, but also in technological superiority. The country currently operates a total of over 15,000 military aircraft, combining all the branches of the military service, including the US Navy, US Army, Coast Guard, and the US Marines. As of 2017, the US Air Force alone has a fleet of over 5,300 aircraft, 406 intercontinental ballistic missiles, and 170 military satellites, greater than any other country in the world. The USA has the largest number of stealth aircraft designed to be silent killers and untrackable by the radar defense systems of most countries in the world. Some of these stealth aircraft...
It's just dawned on me, by the way. I think it's our army is 80,000. I said active service personnel.
Yeah, it's not. It's
the army.
Yeah.
That's 80,000 people.
The permanent, yeah.
We've obviously got the RAF as well. We've got the Navy as well. So there's more.
Yeah.
There's more than that, but
yeah.
Aircraft include air superiority fighters such as the F-22 Raptor and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, heavy bombers such as the B-2 Spirit. In fact, the United States pioneered this technology in the 1980s with the introduction of the F-117 Nighthawk stealth attack aircraft. Stealth aircraft are designed to avoid detection using a variety of technologies that reduce radar reflection from ground, sea, or air-based radar antennas, thereby reducing its radar cross-section, or RCS. This revolutionary technology allows a fifth-generation aircraft, such as the F-22 Raptor, with a max takeoff weight of 83,500 pounds, to have a radar cross-section of just 0.0001 meters squared, about the size of a bumblebee. What's more insane is that the massive B-2 bomber also has the same radar cross-section as the F-22 Raptor. Thus, it becomes extremely difficult to track stealth aircraft. Even if the enemy spots them on their radar scopes, it's a whole other story to successfully track them and register a missile kill. The whole idea behind this technology is to break the chain in which a conventional surface-to-air missile defense system works. It's the same reason countries like China and Russia are also hard at developing their own stealth fighter, the Chengdu J-20 and the Sukhoi Su-57, respectively. These aircraft will allow the US Air Force to assert its air superiority over any battlefield of the future, and we all know that control of these skies is the biggest decider in any war. The next reason why any country going to war with the US military should think twice is because of the strength of the US Navy and its dominance over the world's ocean, especially the Navy's supercarriers.
Unbelievable.
The US Navy currently operates 11 nuclear-powered Nimitz-class supercarriers, which is the largest aircraft carrier fleet in the world. The only navy that can come close in terms of technological advancement is probably the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom, but they only have 2 operational carriers. The Nimitz class of carriers has a displacement of over 100,000 tons and can carry a complement of up to 70 aircraft. They're literally a floating small town in the ocean with its own airport.
Jesus.
The Nimitz-class carriers in themselves are extremely potent offensive weapons, but the way they operate in what is called the carrier strike groups makes these ships even more deadly. A carrier seldom deploys alone. There are always a fleet of surface and underwater assets surrounding them and forming a strike group. These include guided missile cruisers, a destroyer squadron, attack submarines, and other support vessels. Together, they project the power of the carrier and at the center of the group forward towards the enemy. While the carrier is carrying out its offensive role with the use of its air wing, the other ships are responsible to protect its flanks against any enemy attack. This combination of offensive and defensive strategy makes the US carrier strike group almost impenetrable. The United States Navy maintains 9 such.
They're unbelievable ships. I've only seen it once, and they're monstrous. Like, you can't even, like, your brain can't comprehend the actual size of it. Like, I got lucky enough when we went to Australia, we got to go inside one of the subs. It was at port. I don't think it was obviously American. I think it was Australian, but it's like, they're huge, like unbelievable. And you think obviously the cabins are dead small because obviously the engine, obviously all the other parts are so important and below deck.
Yeah.
But they're just, your brain just doesn't compute. It's like a hotel that goes underwater. It's ridiculous.
I've been on a destroyer when I was younger,
Wow.
and that's cool. But it was obviously decommissioned, so it was quite old. But even that, you just walk around and you're like, this is just, it's a city. It's absolutely nuts.
It's mental. It's like I've always wanted to go on one of those cruise ships because obviously they're never going to compare to the size of these. But you can imagine it's similar in the sense of like how much space they put.
I've been on a
these
2-day
things.
cruise to this southern Spain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wanted to go on like those Caribbean ones, that go for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I prefer boats to planes. So like
Yeah.
2 days to go to Spain where you get to actually enjoy the boat and enjoy the journey and all that. It was cool.
I think I get seasick, but
You get
only
seasick?
I do get seasick, but it's only if there's really, really choppy water and if I have to lie down. If I can stand, I'm generally okay. Like when we crossed the English Channel, when it got really choppy during the return journey, I had to go and stand out the back deck.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be sick.
I don't get seasick.
I do. It's the motion, obviously.
When we were on that boat, in the middle, I dream very vividly, so it's not uncommon for me to just like have disturbed sleep, and sort of external factors affect my dreams and things like that. And I was dreaming some sort of crazy like battle scenes and It was just madness. And when I woke up the next day, my dad was like, "Oh, you missed out last night. There was an amazing lightning storm over the sea." And he was just watching it out of the window of the cabin. And I'm like, that's been affecting my dreams. Fucking wake me up. A lightning storm with, like, he said, what is it, fork lightning or sheet lightning, the one that goes across the sky.
Yeah.
And he was like, it was unbelievable. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. And I'm like, and I'm just dreaming about being on a battle. You could have woke me up.
That's hilarious. If there's anybody in any Navy across the world watching us, let us know when you're out at sea for like 6-8 months. Do you get what they call the sea legs and you come back? Is it really difficult walking on normal land? Or are these massive ships so stable with their disbursement of the water that you don't feel it that much? Because obviously we see like fishing boats and you can see people like literally like standing sideways as the boat's being tilted.
I can't see it being a problem with these massive aircraft carriers because they are going to move. There's going to be, but it's not going to be like that, is it?
No, but do you get sea legs?
A strike group, almost impenetrable. The United States Navy maintains 9 such carrier strike groups, 8 of which are based in the United States and 1 that's forward deployed to Japan. For over 50 years, this has been the principal element of US power protection, and the Nimitz class of supercarriers are at the center of it all. Despite this, the US is currently in the process of developing a new class of carriers called the Gerald R. Ford class, intended to replace the Nimitz class ships. This new supercarrier will be even more technologically advanced and is expected to continue US dominance of the oceans well into the late 21st century.
You know what I kind of get and I don't get at the same time. When they retire one of these, they obviously dismantle them.
Yeah.
And there's technology on there they don't want other countries having, all that sort of stuff. But when you've got a country that's as tight on military spending as the UK is, where we've just like fucking seem to not be bothered whatsoever about our military, the ones that are being retired from the States, if they're still functional, why can't we just buy them off them?
I don't know.
As an ally, and we probably have access to those now outdated technologies.
It's interesting you say that because I never realised that they don't, because we as the UK, obviously, you know, I told you Jenny's husband Mark, he works for a company that does military vehicles and he sells them.
Yeah.
And obviously he sells them all over the world. So
we manufacture to sell around the world.
Yeah,
like Saudi Arabia is one of the UK's biggest clients for stuff like that. But I just mean specifically, if we're going to spend like a couple of billion on an aircraft carrier, but they're still viable, America's an ally, and it's probably not the most up-to-date technology, you'd think, because our Navy's just getting smaller.
But would you want to buy that when you could spend the same amount of money to purchase something that's been, like obviously deemed not worthy anymore, and there's better technology when you could just make your own technology?
I just think the American technology, even if it's becoming outdated and they're replacing it, is still quite high up.
It would be, but you don't. It's still going to be high up, but you don't know what level we're at compared to that.
I think ours is pretty good
ours
as well.
Ours is amazing. This is what I mean.
If we've got a Navy of like, I don't know, 30 ships or what, I'm just saying that, I don't know how many we've got, and you're like, oh, just chuck us those aircraft carriers you're retiring as well.
Whereas I would want us to develop our own technology rather than taking on someone else's.
We're not spending the money, and that's what I'm saying.
We're not in this country, but
ideally we'd spend the money and we'd have the best stuff out there.
But if we're not spending the money to develop the technology, why would we spend the money to buy other people's technology?
Because we're not developing it.
No, because we haven't got the money. They're not putting the money into the military.
We've got the money. We've got the money. I think the stat I heard today was in the early 2000s there was something like 27 billionaires in the UK.
Yeah, but they're not paying for the military.
No. Now there's something like 200 billionaires. So in the last 20 years... I think it's 14 years of this government, obviously people have got poorer, the NHS has got worse, the military spend's gone down.
And then everything else
but the amount of billionaires is going like that.
Yeah, the divide's getting massive here.
Yeah, I'm not going to get political.
No.
The third reason why you shouldn't fight the US military is their massive stockpile of nuclear and conventional intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. The ICBM plays the role of the land leg in the US nuclear triad, along with the Trident submarine-launched ballistic missile SLBM and nuclear warheads carried on long-range strategic bombers. ICBMs are launched from ground-based missile silos, achieving high suborbital spaceflight, approximately 1,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. The body of the missile then separates from the warhead, which re-enters the atmosphere and free falls to the assigned target at hypersonic speeds. The US military currently operates 400 ICBMs from its base in Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota. The LGM-30G Minuteman III is the only type of ICBM that is currently operational in the US. The Minuteman III family of ICBMs were first developed in the 1960s as a response to the Soviet nuclear threat. Throughout the Cold War and beyond, these missiles have undergone constant modernization. In the last decade alone, the US military has undertaken $7 billion worth of upgrades. The rocket propulsion engines, the propellants used, the guidance system, and even the flight control surfaces have all been refurbished. The upgraded missiles are completely different from its 1960s counterparts, except for the shell. These state-of-the-art improvements and modernization programs have kept the Minuteman III system operational for over 50 years with improved reliability that supports the missile's remarkable 99% alert rate. The latest versions of the missiles have a range of over 8,000 miles, which is greater than the diameter of the Earth at 7,917.5 miles. They can carry multiple 330 kiloton nuclear warheads, which is 20 times greater than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Not only that, each of these warheads can be assigned to different targets independently. The technology is called Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicle, or MIRV, and was first developed for the Minuteman III family of missiles. So any country messing with the United States will have to deal with this awesome arsenal of firepower,
Scary,
which can be launched
terrifying
at a moment's notice.
When you think about, like, I know, like, people in one of the elections argued that we're spending too much money on nuclear research. It was many, many years ago. But you need something like that to protect yourself. But are we as a race, like, a human race, obviously, becoming a problem for this planet? Like, so much nuclear, like, warheads and so much power behind everything. If one person presses one button, are we just going to wipe the entire population out?
Ooh. I think World War II proved that if only one person's got the technology, it will get used. But if multiple people have got the technology, it becomes a deterrent. Because Russia aren't going to launch one because they know they're going to get 100 back. America aren't going to launch one because they know they're going to get a load back. So it's actually the past X amount of decades, like 40, 50 years, have been the most peaceful in a long time. Even though there's wars going on, it's not like...
it's not the world wars.
It's not the world wars and, the sort of crazy stuff that was going on for the past few centuries.
True.
So there's still war, but the threat of mutually assured destruction has kind of like stopped it being World War II level wars.
It's still terrifying that we have shit like that.
Well, they said it's equivalent to, was it 20 Hiroshima?
Yeah.
There's one called the Russian Tsar bomb. Obviously the Russians have got. How viable it is, who knows? But it's something like 100 or 200 times the Hiroshima. I'll Google it at the end, but it is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's the biggest nuke on the planet.
I suppose it would come in handy if aliens came to...
What, so we should blow ourselves up and the aliens?
No, just blow the aliens up if it goes up that high, just take out all their ships.
If it weren't the ICBMs or the stealth fighters raining fire down on you, it would be precision-guided munitions, or better known as smart bombs or PGMs instead. This is another big reason why not messing with the US military is a good idea. All branches of the US military use smart bombs in some forms or the other. These weapon systems are designed to be precise and hit a specific target with maximum efficiency. These bombs are so effective that during the First Gulf War, PGMs comprised only 9% of weapons fired, but accounted for 75% of all successful hits. Since then, for the US military at least, the days of normal artillery shells and unguided bombs are long gone. Nowadays, the military uses PGMs from air, ground, and sea. Precision-guided munitions come in various forms and use different kinds of technologies to achieve precise hits. A large majority of PGMs use the Global Positioning System, or GPS, of satellites to guide their trajectory to target. However, sometimes this becomes a problem, as GPS coverage is not always reliably available everywhere across the globe, or bad weather conditions can hinder operations. Thus, the Office of Naval Research, the Naval Surface Warfare Center, and the Army Research Laboratory have all coordinated to develop the first ever artillery-fired smart munition that will not use GPS guidance. The project is known as Moving Target Artillery Round, or MTAR for short. The MTAR shell can be guided onto stationary as well as moving targets in both land and sea, using a combination of guidance technology. The best part is that these shells can be fired from the existing M777A2 155mm towed howitzer and the M109A7 Paladin Integrated Management self-propelled 155mm artillery systems already in use by the US military. The shells will also feature an extended range of 40 to 60 miles, using rocket boosters to propel them. Once finished, it will afford the US military another potent weapon system that outclasses others around the world.
Jesus.
Lastly, the fifth and final reason why you shouldn't fight the US military is drones. We're all familiar with what an unmanned aerial vehicle or drone is and what it's supposed to do. But in recent years, the usability of UAVs are steadily increasing to encompass all spheres of military operations, and the US military is the pioneering spirit behind it. At first, used only for surveillance missions, drones were quickly weaponized after the 9/11 attacks and have been extensively used by the US military in the war against terror as an offensive weapon platform. It's forecasted that over the next decades, the US is in line to purchase over 1,000 combat drones of various classifications. Some of them, like the Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel and the Boeing MQ-25 Stingray,
It's a
are
UFO,
already
isn't
in the
it?
final stages of
unreal.
development, and once finished, will provide the US military with state-of-the-art platforms capable of multi-role operations, ranging from attack missions to aerial refueling. Drone technology has reached such heights today that a single UAV can loiter miles above the surface of the Earth for hours, waiting for the target to show its head and sticking with impunity. This capability will allow all the services under the US military to reduce its dependency on manned platforms, thereby reducing the risks during future combat operations. These 5 weapon systems make the US military extremely dangerous for any adversary looking to get into a conflict with them. In a conventional warfare setting, it's almost impossible to beat the US military machine. That's why modern enemies of the United States are employing more and more asymmetric warfare strategies against the mighty US military.
They're
Despite that, the
terrifying.
US military juggernaut is hands down the most powerful military complex in the world today, and probably will be for decades to come.
Jesus.
That's all we have for you today, folks. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you liked the video and want to stay up to date on cool military stuff like this, then click the subscribe button and also click the notification bell, and you'll be the first to know the next time we release a video. Thanks for watching.
That's unreal.
It is, isn't it?
It's just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. What you're looking for?
Russian Tsar bomb. 1961.
Tsar bomber.
Yeah, I understand why, obviously, when we did a lot of military stuff at the Office Blokes, we'd get a lot of comments from Americans saying that they're getting pissed off. And I've heard American politicians say it as well.
Yeah.
With NATO countries not spending enough. Because I think one of the prerequisites of being a member of NATO is you've got to spend X amount of GDP on your military.
All right.
Because we all agree that we're going to back each other up in the case
wars,
that one
yeah.
person's been invaded. And obviously the US still spend a fortune, whereas other countries have started like
Cutting back
shaving
on-
it off a
I
little bit
know.
down to like 2%, 1.5%.
I know, it's disgusting.
So I understand the why people are pissed off about it, especially when you're feeling the pinch in your own country and
Yeah.
people are skint and everything's more expensive
Yeah.
than ever, and you're like, well, why the fuck are we paying for them
Well,
to
exactly.
keep them safe?
I know.
You know, when we've got to look after our own.
I absolutely agree with that. And it's also, like we've said before, like the military isn't just for fighting. It isn't just for deterrency. Like the Navy deal a lot with pirates.
The British
Obviously,
Navy do.
huge
for
amounts
sure.
of technological advancements in healthcare, in general sort of like technology. They're also involved in humanitarian things as well. Like, obviously, when we had the floods here in the UK, it was the military that stepped in to save people and protect, obviously, help them out of their homes.
Yeah.
The Ebola outbreak, the COVID outbreak, it was obviously a big military movement.
We used to pride ourselves on our military, and we still have an amazing military.
Unbelievable.
But the government are just like cutting its feet out from underneath it. And it's stupid.
It's sad.
It really is. There you go. 100 megaton capacity, the Russian Tsar bomb. It was modified to yield 50 megatons, which is estimated to be about 3,800 times the strength of the US bomb dropped in Hiroshima.
That's unreal.
Also, the 100 megaton one was too dangerous for a test, so they modified it to be 50. So the 100 megaton one would be 7,600 times the Hiroshima bomb.
My question is why are they testing it on our planet? I know you got to test it, but
Elon Musk wanted to nuke both poles of Mars, was it? To try and get Mars rotating in a way that's beneficial to an atmosphere, so to create a new gravitational force on Mars. It's like, stop it.
Yeah, everybody just stop.
Just everyone just chill for a minute.
Just chill for a second. Stop blowing shit up.
Yeah. That's nuts though, isn't it?
That is unbelievable. It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, I love military stuff like that. Like that,
I do.
I currently go to college with a guy who's transitioning out of the military into being an electrician, and the military are helping fund boot camps for him and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, I'm fascinated having conversations with him about his experience of the last 22 years in the military.
Well, my ex-husband, like I said, he was in the Educational Training Services regiment, and he did a lot of that, like transitioning people, and you could earn credits over your, obviously, service in the military.
You can save them up, can't you?
You can, and then
use them
do
at the
different
end of your
courses.
career and stuff.
But it was like they encourage a lot of people to join to do their degree. It was like one of the things I was looking at originally was to join the military and do my degree with them.
Yeah.
Because it's unbelievable amounts of experience, and they're funding you to do it, and you get, like obviously your service to the country doing your part.
Yeah.
So
it's something I wanted to do when I was young, but then as I became a teenager, I was just like a weed smoking, skateboarding, guitar playing bum. And I was going to be a rock star, and I'm like, I don't do discipline and fucking regimentation and all that sort of stuff. But when I was a bit younger, like camping and all that sort of stuff, I absolutely loved it.
See, I went to a military style boarding school, so I longed for it. I absolutely was really keen on it, but obviously my dad wasn't keen on me doing it. He said, just get your degree first and then make the decision. And unfortunately, life just took me on a different route. But I did consider joining the TA as well when I was at uni, because they do an officer cadet course when you're at uni.
That's the main reason for me.
Oh dear.
I've thought about it a lot though, and if Oscar or Phoebe joined the military, I'd be proud of them. I'd be really proud.
I was very proud of my ex-husband.
Like what may happen, but I'd be mega proud of him.
I was incredibly proud of my ex-husband. He served for 14 years in the military, from obviously I think it was light infantry, and then he left to do his degree, and then he rejoined the army after his degree and did his officer commissioning course at Sandhurst.
Nice.
So yeah.
Right. Well, we better end there because we're nearly at the half-hour point where the camera likes to cut off.
Yes.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that too. Make sure you like and subscribe as always. If you want to see more military-style stuff on here, just let us know.
Yeah.
And we will see you all very soon.
Bye, guys.